Alright everyone, we've got a lot of stupid media news today, starting off with CBC, one of their writers there trying to proclaim, Venezuela, yeah, it's collapsing, but it's not because of socialism, it's actually because of populism, something that doesn't exist in Venezuela. We've seen this before, and this isn't the last time that we're going to see it. Years ago, all of these groups within the media that support sort of globalism and socialism, they held up Venezuela as the golden standard of socialism. In the most literal sense, they all praised it. They said, look, now when the economy was going well and people weren't getting assassinated randomly, now Venezuela is a model that we should use here in the United States and everywhere else in the Western world. Look, it works so well to give people, free shit, aka subsidized shit. Surely this can be exported to a global model and isn't doomed to fail because of a monocultured economic model. And they said, Venezuela's great. Look at all the progress that they're making. Chavez is a hero, not a villain, and damn Bush for villainizing him, basically. But, at the time, it's like Bush's, low-hanging fruit as far as criticism is concerned. Then Maduro takes over. He keeps the same economic model. The problem is a few years into his tenure there, the economy totally changes. Oil collapses. The world's reliance on oil is now slowly beginning to shrink per capita. Within the United States, we've had an energy boom, which has, collapsed the prices somewhat. OPEC has been reluctant to shut off the spigot, which is keeping the prices, fairly low. They don't want to compete with Venezuela anyway. I think that the Middle East has screwed them over completely. And so the economy goes south. And then all of a sudden, as soon as there were problems, it was no longer socialism. We can find articles from, Salon most infamously. They had an article, I think it was 2012 or something, where they're like, Venezuela is true socialism. We should adopt these methods and means. It's a good thing. And then now they're like, well, it's actually capitalism that's hurting Venezuela. It's a CIA coup. Or as the CBC is putting it, it's the result of populism. That is, no, it's not real socialism because what Maduro was doing was just trying to buy votes, basically. Well, yeah, no shit, that's what happens under socialism. And it's not populism. Populism is you care about the structure of the country insofar as the workers go. If you care about your workers, you diversify your economy so that if the economy has a downturn, you don't have that problem. Maduro was just too stupid to do that, and Chavez was too. They didn't have any long-term planning skills. Or rather, they did. But they figured, well, doesn't matter, I got this state militia behind me. If things go wrong, I can just have all of my opponents killed. I don't think Maduro ever expected the economy of Venezuela to be as crappy as it is today, where somebody posted a picture a few days ago of how many bolivars you could get for $1 US. It was you couldn't even carry the stack practically. You wouldn't have even been able to carry it on your own. You'd have little bundles of money falling off, and if you were to walk down the street with that, and little bits fell off, nobody would even bother to bend over to grab them. It's worth like a penny per bundle or something. I've actually thought, if I had any Venezuelan fans, I don't know if I'm still accessible there. I actually collect money. It would be interesting. I'd like to send $10 to some Venezuelan, plus the cost of shipping, obviously, and get a literal crate of Venezuelan bolivars shipped up. It would be interesting to you save some. Some of them you give out as, basically a joke to your friends. Then you could actually take some and make a table with it or something. You could literally make furniture out of these, banknotes. But they stopped even bothering to re-import them, like bolivars that had been out of the country that they wanted to buy up and re-import to use internally. Now they stopped doing that because literally, if you load up a 747, balls to the wall, non-stop bolivars, the total load is worth less than the fuel you will expend and the manpower to load it in the first place. It really is that worthless, and it's continuing to hyperinflate. Look, the bolivar is getting weaker, not better. Maduro's new idea is, well, we'll just shave a bunch of zeros off of it and call it a day. That's not how the concept of a medium of exchange really works. But Maduro was a bus driver before he got into office. Now, because things were going really well and he was an upper-level party insider and stuff, that's why he got voted for. That's why Maduro's in his position. The problem is when times are bad, you need people who have some degree of skill, some degree of strategic thinking, and some degree of finesse in what they're doing. Maduro has none of these. Chavez was more intelligent than Maduro by far. And Chavez was basically a fucking bloody commie revolutionary. That's basically what he was. Well, we're going to overthrow the bourgeois, evil, capitalist, industrial classes and give people microwaves and give people, commie block housing. Well, that's great as long as you've got a lot of oil and prices are really high and demand is really high and you're like, you can export it all. You can borrow against your oil production anyway, and you can rapidly outpace practically everyone. Growth in Venezuela was massive for a while there, about a decade. Nobody bothered to diversify. Whoops. Yeah, sorry. Oil prices, the thing is, the thing that sunk Venezuela is the same thing that can sink any economy that's not diverse enough. Over-reliance on one industry, and it was taken for granted that that would always be a scarce thing that was valuable. It's like, imagine if you had a city-state and it was entirely based on a really productive silver mine, and silver prices are high. Well, then, you look like, Switzerland or something. You're really rich. Now imagine that the silver prices fall to, like, where they are now, where it's like, what is it, $11 an ounce or some crazy low price like that? Now you look impoverished. You can't mine it more. You can't mine it easily enough to actually make enough of a profit to prop up what was once a robust economy. You have to diversify. That way, if any single aspect of your economy, if any single good, not within a genre, like, agriculture. Okay, be an agricultural economy, but don't just rely on corn. Don't just rely on fucking selling tomatoes to Heinz to turn into ketchup or something. By the way, a very important use of the tomato. You've got to diversify some. It's simply the way that it is. That's why nations, if they're smart, they've done that. The United States has diversified its economy. Now, I expect eventually the socialists will make the argument, the reason why it fails in these states is because of that, because they haven't diversified enough. But we've got a diverse economy, so it's okay. That's where they get you. You will see the slow erosion of the diversity in your economy as well. I'll tell you exactly why. Because once those people get into power, they will inevitably, because socialism requires a lot of centrality, they will inevitably be trying to ingratiate themselves to voters to stay in office. That's just the way that it is within a socialist system. If you have an extremely laissez-faire system, it becomes much harder to do that because it becomes much harder to legally justify being able to buy people's votes, essentially. Becomes a lot harder if you've suppressed corporatism to some degree, which unfortunately we don't do either. But those socialists, they'll give people the microwaves, the toaster ovens, and the electrical subsidies and stuff in order to stay in there. Eventually, you've pissed away the productivity even of a diverse economy so that a general economic downturn, a recession of some sort, driven just by bubbles and speculation, can flatline your economy. So it won't even matter. If we adopted full-on Venezuelan-style socialism, within 20 to 30 years, we would regress to a potato patch economy. We would fall and we would have to kick the socialists back out and go through an extensive, lengthy, painful legal process of restructuring the whole economy and the whole society. So that's why I generally oppose the concept of adopting it here. It's funny, though, that Venezuela it was pure socialism until their recession started. I would say at this point it's more of a depression. When people are eating their pets and attacking and eating zoo animals and the money is so hyperinflated that you need a wheelbarrow full of it to buy a couple loaves of bread and a dozen eggs, I would say that's not a recession anymore. That sounds worse than any recession that we've ever gone through. That sounds more like the Great Depression here. That's about all. Peace out.